Hey, and welcome. We are here for another episode of our new favorite show, Our Kinds of People, Season 1, Episode 2, titled My Mother, Myself. I got my notes. Y'all gonna get them. Some of them word for word. Anywho, the episode opens with Angela. She's doing her morning live stream, and she begins talking about her first hair memory. Tender-headed, she was getting her first summer braids, and then we get a nice little history lesson. Back in Africa, hair patterns were as good as fingerprints. Braids could tell you a person's tribe, marital status, wealth, or social position. Our crowns were our identity. When the colonizer ships came, one of the first things they did was shave our heads so we couldn't tell kin from kin. Those who survived the Middle Passage birthed a new hair culture. We grew out our hair and took back what was stolen. We used our hair to communicate. We used our hair to communicate. We found power in hair. No one can take your identity or make you forget who you really are. So now while Angela's giving this lesson, we see a scene. She's getting ready and Leah's getting ready for what we find out later is the Black Diamonds Ball. So in the next scene, we go to 2 days ago. We're at church where Pastor John Gray is preaching. The Franklins, the Dumonts, and the Vaughns are all in attendance. The Franklins and DuPonts turn around and they give Aunt Piggy a look for loudly opening her little church candies. And then he preaches, perhaps the fight is not simply for you to relinquish your enemies. The fight was designed to reveal you to you. Amen from the Vaughn corner. And then he continues. You're going to have to fight. You're a warrior by nature. It's in your DNA. You couldn't escape it if you tried. Amens are all around. I've come to learn sometimes if you don't take it by force, you won't take it at all. We get more amens and then the choir sings. After that scene, everybody's outside, gathering, having their little chit chat. Tyreek and Angela speak. She needs a referral for a contractor. They flirt. I could be your contractor. I could get dirty. It's no problem. So off to the side, Mama and Liv is like, can you please handle Angela so we can get back to more pressing concerns? She's talking to Leah. Lauren is getting out of control with the partying and she will not be embarrassing the family. So as Mama Liv storms off, a few of the ladies, they congratulate Angela on her new position. Oh, congratulations, girl. Oh, hey. So Angela walks over. She asks Leah to clear the air. They talk privately and they go back and forth. Well, you talk about my mama being a maid. Well, your mama was it. Okay, ladies. So Leah wants to know, why are you here? And Angela's like, I want to provide a better future for my daughter. Is that it? Leah says. I've seen your type before. Social climbers who save their money for a summer house or take out loans. I think that's what Angela says she did. But anyway, Leah says, meanwhile, the families on the island hold it down all year long. We are Black excellence, she says. More back and forth before they finally part ways. Back at home, Leah tells Raymond everyone is excited she's taking over Franklin, but if they only knew. Knew what, he asked. Teddy didn't step down. She pushed him out because he was doing some things that she's too ashamed to even tell him about. Raymond has the ill, guilty look on his face. But he don't say nothing. He starts unbuttoning his shirt. He's trying to get some while talking business. And let's just take a moment to appreciate Morris Chestnut, who's probably in his 50s, could be in his 40s. And he is clearly drinking his water and minding his business and looking so good. So apparently there was a bailout and he wants his company back. Didn't even know Raymond had a company, but I guess the Franklin family bought him out. Leah wants to negotiate, and them shades. So back at home, Angela complains about Leah while revealing to Aunt P. While she's going, she brings the mail in. She's looking through the mail. She looks shocked. So she reveals to Aunt P that she took a piece of Leah's hair from the wig and sent it for DNA testing. She has Nikki open the envelope. She's too nervous to do it. I don't know why you would have your daughter do it, but okay, fine. We airing all our dirty laundry in front of the whole family, I guess. Nikki opens it, and the likelihood that they share a parent is 99%. Angela is relieved, but there is work to be done. She wants to prove her mother's innocence. Angela plans to get into the incubator program and snoop around. And Aunt P is like, you know, Leah is not about to let you anywhere near that program. And she's like, Leah's like, well, maybe Raymond will. So Nikki reminds them that, you know, we need to spread grandma's ashes. So Raymond's on a yacht. He's talking about getting Darman back, which is this company. He's talking to his partner, Jack. We learn that their great-grandfathers, the DuPonts and the Harmons, is where it all started. They started the business, the boys grew up together, but it sounds like Jack was a entitled F-up. And Raymond says, you were privileged and you never had to suffer any consequences. But Jack's like, we're the same. And Raymond has to let him know, like, it's not the same. You just do whatever, you don't get no consequences, it's all handed to you. You had, you know, corporate credit cards. Meanwhile, I gotta bust my behind and be at the top of my game at all times to get ahead. We know that struggle. So now the ladies are putting together floor arrangements for charity outreach, when Lauren comes in and she's dressed like she just came from the club, looking like she was hungover in the broad daylight, I might add. So the ladies, they joking, you just was kissing her behind, but now you joking around. So Leah cuts them down, pulls Lauren to the side. She scolds her a little, and then she says they should do lunch tomorrow after the Forbes shoot and talk. And Lauren's like, I don't think, you know, some of the things I'm going to tell you, you're going to like about me. And Leah says, you know, you can tell me anything. I'm never going to not love you. That's every parent, but we shall see. So Lauren is nauseous and she runs out. Leah picks up her phone. Her phone is unlocked. Again, I don't know what it is with these kids and these unlocked phones. That's not realistic. The show, like the Taylor thing, I get she probably purposely unlocked the phone so that Nikki could find out the information. But this is just like, who don't lock their phone? Anyway, she sees pictures of her and Taylor looking more than friendly. So while they have a quick meeting, Leah takes Angela's idea about changing the name of the function of the gala, and everybody applauds. And Angela's looking like me, like, that's what I just said. But then she said it. Y'all was like, oh, yeah, girl, that is fabulous. We should do that. So Leah asked Tracy to drop flowers by for her mom. Tracy's like, oh, you know, my son has writing lessons. But Leah's already out the door. Either she didn't hear, either she heard or she didn't hear it. Either way. Tough noogies, Tracy. So, it's no worries though, because Angela's like, I got you, girl, no worries. Now you owe me one. But I think she actually owes her two, because wasn't Tracy the one that was supposed to do glam for the fashion show? Anyway, so Angela, she catches Raymond in the hallway and they discuss the incubator program, and he basically tells her, like, you know, you need to stand out. So they have a little chit chat. She goes. Angela ends up over at the senior living community where Leah's mother is, and it's the audacity for me, Angela girl, but I guess you really got to be some type of bold. But anyway, Rose says, oh, the little bee came to visit. Hey, Leah. Angela's face was mine. What you say, Mama Rose? To what do I owe this honor? You must need something, because you never come to visit, Leah. Okay, so does Mama, at first when she said, oh, the little bee came to visit, she had her back turned, and she turns around and asks, you know, she says what she says, and I'm like, does Mama Rose have dementia? Because how do you not know what your daughter looks like? But anyway, she asked her to make her presentable. So they sit down. She's, you know, braiding Rose's hair, and Angela asks her about, you know, do you remember the Grey City's Grand Illumination Ball of 1984? Rose says, yes, that was the year I was inducted, and Teddy was inducted into the kingship. We were young, black, rich, and fabulous. I think Leo was about 2 or 3, she said. Angela asked about Evelyn's arrest that night. Did your father send you here to humiliate me? And she's like, no, I just wanted to know. And she's like, you know, she was Rose's friend. She worked for her for 2 summers, and all I could hear was, she was a friend of mine. Because she worked for her for 2 summers before she reverted to stereotypes. That's what Rose had said. You lay down with dogs, you get fleas, she told Teddy. And he got a bastard. Her words, not mine. The woman wasn't fit to be a mother. She gave her baby up for $50,000, and someone else bought her home. Dorothy Ann Washington. Angela's like, you don't know what you're talking about. She's like, honey, I was in the Grey Cities. I know it all. Trust and believe. So Angela is upset. She gets up and she leaves. And as she's leaving, Rose is like, you helped your father put me in here. You get me out. Miss Rose done spilled all the tea, and we are here for it. So I'm assuming it's the next day, and Angela starts by calling around. She's trying to get the info on her birth. She gets nothing but a dial tone. Tyreek was there, so he comes in, he's like, the outside looks sturdy, and they look over the floor plans, and he asks her to dinner, and she's like, no, I have a party, but why don't you come with me? So he's like, there's a room behind, I guess he said yes, I think. And then he's like, oh, there's a room behind the stairs. And then he kind of kicks and like punches and, puts a hole in the wall. And there was a room back there with a bunch of stuff that I believe to be Eve's. So Lauren is, and then, Lauren is with her mom at the Forbes cover shoot. And Leah's nervous. Lauren's like, you get nervous? She's like, surprised. So Teddy shows up for an interview, so he says. They excuse Lauren, and he gives a mini Papa Pope rant about, you know what this is all about. And Leah's like, money? He's like, no, power, because when you have power, people can't make you do things that you don't want to do. And then he's blah, 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 Papa Poping all the way. And sometimes we must dabble in the gray. Gray, like you cheated on my mama, Leah says. And she says she's been remembering too, like tagging along with him on a business trip when she was 8, and they visited a small apartment building in Boston. She remembers a younger girl in the rain about 2 years younger than her. And she says when he got back in the car, his hands were shaking. She had never seen him like that. He's like, you know what? Enjoy Forbes. And he leaves, and he walks off with a laugh. Teddy is quite unbothered, and this whole scene was like, this whole storyline was a little too convenient for me, but I'm here for it nonetheless. So Angela's still calling to get her birth information when Leah walks in with Lauren. I mean, just walks in her door, don't knock the door. I don't know how the door is unlocked, but everybody walking in the house anyway. So she walks in and, walks in like she lives there, and she's like, I heard you were speaking to my husband about the incubator program, and she wants to see the place for herself. It's a Franklin program, so she will be representing her, and she doesn't know anything about her or her business. So like I said, Lauren's there. Angela says hi to Lauren, and she's like, Nikki tells me Taylor's stable. Nikki sees Taylor. Lauren is surprised. Angela's like, yeah, I think she's been there, every day since the accident. And Leah's like, let's not talk about Taylor. She's a party girl, and maybe this tragedy will, break this hold she seems to have on you. What hold, Mom? Leah reveals that she saw the pictures of the two of them, and you look at her like what? Like I love her, Lauren says, because I do. You told me you love me no matter what, and here I am. And of course, she's like, of course I love you, but I can't support this. Now I'm surprised they're sitting having this whole conversation in front of Angela, but okay. So Lauren storms off, and Leah's like, you don't understand the pressure that I'm under. And Angela tries to help her by saying, like, look, mother to mother, what you say next matters. So, like, choose your words carefully. And then, Leah's talking about when did she, her daughter stop speaking and they lose communication. It's like she doesn't even know her anymore. And, they relate, they have a little bond, a little, mom to mom moment. And Angela's like, it's working mother syndrome. So Leah, like, she gathers herself. She's like, all right, you got work to do. Get to it. She leaves. And, I was like, I can't believe parents are still tripping over their kids not being straight. Like, I love mine no matter what. So Boston General, the hospital, calls Angela back. Turns out Rose was telling the truth. Aunt P, she's in the secret room and she's crying. And Leah comes in and tells her, and she's like, it was only 6 months, she says. And Angela's upset. She's like, you knew? And Aunt P is like, she's like, did you know about my father and the arrest? She's like, no, I didn't know nothing about the charges or your father. Angela's upset. She storms out. So I guess after a walk, she comes back in, because we only know that because Aunt P's like, where were you? I went for a walk. She explains that Eve lived with the mistake for 6 months, that she didn't feel like she could do right by Angela. Teddy wasn't answering her calls, work had dried up, and a rich woman appeared who couldn't have kids and she wanted her, and she insisted on paying her. But Eve, she couldn't sign the papers, so she ended up taking Angela back. And then Angela's like, she kept the money. She's like, Aunt P is like, she wanted to return it, but I had already used it because I was in trouble. I want to know what Aunt P was up to. She sounded like she was a hot mess back in the day. So she says, Eve worked for years to pay the woman back. And Aunt P says, you're more to Angela, you're more focused on the Franklins than honoring your mother's wishes. And if you don't scatter those ashes soon, I will. So later, Angela apologized to Aunt P. Aunt P asks what the plan is and says, you're right, I'll meet you at the party. She runs down the plan real quick. Aunt P's like, I'll meet you at the party with Nikki. So Angela and Tariq, they arrive at the party, the Black Diamonds ball, and they're on the carpet taking pictures, flirting. A reporter stops Leah and congratulates her. And Angela has bought a small business nominee from Boston. She comes in, she's loud, she's boisterous. Leah turns around like, what? She does not look thrilled. So the lady mentions something about, you know, oh my God, I'm taking a picture between like Leah, who's on the cover of Forbes, and Angela, who's like behind the old thing. They were like, what? So Raymond, as they're, you know, everybody goes their own way, Raymond catches up somehow with Angela, and he talks to her about her mention in Forbes, and she's like, she's really trying to get that spot in the incubator program. You know, she spits her game or whatever, and Raymond's like, you know what, I'll have the office call you to schedule an interview. She's like, yes, okay, I did it. She played the game. So they party. Angela and Tariq are dancing. Aunt P and Nikki come. Aunt P excuses herself when Quincy works over and starts talking to Nikki, and Aunt P's like, let me remind you, like, that's your cousin, so watch yourself. So they're having some awkward conversation. I think he has a little thing for Nikki, and Lauren walks over and she accuses Nikki of telling her mom about her and Taylor. She's like, you don't belong here. And then she makes an inappropriate comment about Nikki's grandmother, and Quincy's like, yo, leave her alone. And Nikki's like, oh no, boo, let me gather you, because we belong here. My mother is not just some girl from, you know, some little, you know, hood rat from Boston. And she was about to blow up the whole entire spot, and luckily, by the grace of God, Angela caught her. She swoops in, she pulls her to the side. So then, you know, they introduce Teddy and Leah to the stage, and Angela looks like she's about to cry. And she does. He's given another Papa Pope speech, and he says, we are here honoring Leah, and he's like, but I am not retiring. Womp womp. He goes on to say that he's still the chairman of Franklin Holdings, and she is still the second in command. Leah's face is totally on the floor. As they exit the stage, we see the Forbes cover with Leah and Teddy. Teddy's like, you should have looked closely at those papers you think you have on me. The shell company that he used could be particularly destructive to her husband. I knew Raymond looked guilty. When she was talking to him, he looked like cat that ate the canary. So he's like, if you take me down, your husband's company will go down too. I told you I am better at this than you are. So that's the end of them. Leah's standing there still looking at the whole situation like she wants to pass out. Teddy, he's walking off, and Angela follows behind him, and we get a flashback to the night that she chased him down in the rain. Tariq comes over and he grabs her. He's like, oh, you disappear. What's wrong? And she's like, oh, leave me alone. And she runs off. She runs out to the beach and she throws up. Nikki comes out to check on her, and she's like, you know, she's crying. She's like, I couldn't even say a word to him. And so they stand there. They hold hands. Then we see Raymond and Leah. They're arguing about Darman. She wants to go through the proper channels, and he's pissed because he's like, you know, we need to do the darn thing. He's like, Raymond says to her, Teddy will never let you run Franklin. Like, I just wish you stand with me for a change, he says as he walks off. So just then Jack comes in and he's like, oh, you okay? They talk. He's like, you know, he didn't mean what you said. He's ear hustling the whole time. He's conveniently there. It looks a little funny. He gives Leah a kiss. As he gives Leah a kiss, now granted, when she kissed him, he pushed him off. Like, what? She pushed him off. Like, what are you doing? Lauren walks in. She sees it. She runs out. Raymond asks what's wrong. So Leah walks up and she's like, you know, we should discuss this at home. And Lauren's trying to run off. She's like, wait. But just then, the police show up and they're like, we need to talk to Lauren. Taylor Woods is awake, and she said the fall wasn't an accident. She released an official statement saying she was pushed. And then Lauren's like, she wouldn't say that. You were there. And she turns to Nikki. Now, you just had read Nikki down. Now you want Nikki's help? And she's like, tell him. And Nikki's like, I didn't see. She didn't. Lauren was out there screaming. Nikki heard. She came out. By then, the girl was already in the water. Anyway, Leah gets mad. She's going to roll up on Nikki. And Angela steps in her way, and she's like, you better think again. Like, you're not about to roll up on my child and say a word. So the police place Lauren under arrest for attempted murder. So later, Angela, she goes over to apologize to Tariq. That's all you got to say, he asks. He's wondering, like, I'm trying to figure out why you were chasing Teddy Franklin. She lies, talking about she wants to ask him some questions about business. But she does say that she just found out who her father was also, and that it was a real mind F. And he's like, you know, he talks to her about letting go, and Tyreek says, you know, his dad worked for Teddy and that he died for Teddy. He caught a bullet in the line of duty, but he made sure that Tyreek was okay. And Leah's like, ain't this a B? Like, he made sure you was okay when she had to stop herself. So he's like telling her, you know, to learn about letting go, and you should learn to float. So she strips down, she's in her underwears, and she lays in the pool and she floats. And then after she floats for a little while, they kiss. So then we see the women. It's Angela, Aunt P, and Nikki. They're reciting, you know, and Still I Rise as they release Eve's ashes. We see Teddy, he's playing chess. Leah comes in, she wants to make sure Lauren has proper legal representation. He's like, it's handled, but I need you to protect the legacy. Your memory of that night in Boston was correct. I was there to say goodbye to a woman, Eve, Angela's mother. He says, I chose you and Rose, my family, over an affair that had to end. But there's no denying Angela Vaughn is your sister. Leah looks disgusted. She's like, and so you make a fool of me again. She smacks all them chess pieces off the board. He's like, all right, get it out of your system. Then reset the board for the real chess game before she uncovers the skeletons that would ruin this family. I will let you know our next moves. So now we see Aunt P. She's at home in the kitchen. She's burning a photo. Who are them people, Aunt P? Why are you burning that picture? Teddy walks in. Aunt P pulls out the strap. She's like, you better get the hell out of here. He's like, now, is that any way to talk to an old friend? And that is how the episode ends. Honey, now I knew Aunt P knew more than she was saying, but we gonna need you to spill it, Aunt P, like ASAP. Like, I will say this series has got me, and I am so looking forward to episode 3. Now, I said in my first video that Oak Bluffs was reminiscent of Martha's Vineyard, but after talking to my best friend and running my Googles, Oak Bluffs is actually a town in Martha's Vineyard. Some of y'all probably already knew that, but if you didn't, you're welcome. I hope you'll come back and join me for the next episode. In the meantime, check out some of my other videos. Before you go, share, like, subscribe, drop me a comment in the comment section. Appreciate you. Peace.